And we're ready. All right. Welcome, everybody. Why the sidechain revolution changes blockchain. We're going to talk about that today. I'm going to try to keep this under 20 minutes, like I said. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, so I'm going to be going a little bit fast. I understand if that's a bit too fast for some of you guys, but don't worry. We can talk about more of it in the future. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on everything, and away we go. So we go to the next slide. Introduction. What are we here for? We are on a journey together to understand this thing called sidechains. Just to be very clear, I am simply going on a journey with you. I just happen to have taken this journey a little longer than a lot of people and have been doing this full time for quite some time. So I'm happy to be able to dive into this with you, and hopefully together we're going to learn a little bit something about sidechains, and we're going to understand a little bit more about how they're going to impact blockchain. I'm by no means the authority that you have to listen to on everything, all right? I'm just taking a ride with you here. So what will we cover? Just so you guys get a rundown on what I'm going to try to cover here is what are sidechains and how do they impact me? I want to know how it's going to impact you. Who are some common players in sidechain development? Will Peerplays be the ones starting the sidechain revolution? Dum, dum, dum. We'll find out. And special insights on what sidechain revolution means to you. So let's get into it. Before I get started, I see that there's a lot of different people here that are of many different backgrounds and many different expertise. So I want to do a quick survey of the room to see who's here and why you're here. So why are you really here? Okay, you either A, learn something to help me make more money. All right, it's blockchain. We all know that some people are here just for the money. B, the topic interests me. I'm a total blockchain nerd. All right, I think I know who's in the room is that. Okay, C, I'm here to suck your brains so I can compete. And there might be some people here to do that. So we'll see. And D, change the world for better in a meaningful way. Or E, all the above. All right, that's okay if you're all those things. So I'm going to put this out as a poll to everybody. I'd like everybody to participate. Let me know what the result is. So once I get some responses, I'll let you know what the results are. Let's see what happens. Oh my gosh, this is so hilarious. Wow, I'm actually quite happy with the results so far. Come on, guys, I need your votes. Once I see a majority of votes, then I'll publish the results. The rest of you who are lagging aren't going to get in. Here we go. Almost there. Getting closer. Come on. All right, that's good enough. I'm gonna publish the results. Here we go. Okay, so why are the most of you here? And the winner is, oh, look at that. So we got a 50-50 on the topic interests me, I'm a total nerd, and you're here to change the world. So those are the two dominant ones. And then we've got nobody here that's here to suck my brains and compete. Well, that's a relief. I was expecting somebody to, but I guess not. That's okay. And all the above. Okay, so some of you are here to suck my brains. Okay, I will keep that in mind. I'll do my best to do my presentation with all of this in mind so that it really suits you guys who are listening here today. Just so you know, this is my first time doing a webinar. I usually do presentations in person, so I'm going to be all over the place on this thing a little bit while I'm doing this, but it's all good. Hey, Bomson, welcome. All right, let's move along. I got a lot to cover. What are sidechains? How do they impact me? Where it all began. So rather than me filling you in on all of this, there's lots of information online about this information. So I'm just going to share with you some links of resources where these answers are, and I'll be sharing all those links with you in the future also. So don't worry about, again, copying all this stuff down, right? Here we go. All right. So this is a white paper which was published in 2014, and it was done by Blockstream. Blockstream is a major contributor to the Bitcoin blockchain. And back in 2014, they recognized there was a need for some kind of scalability solution. So they wrote, we propose a new technology of pegged sidechains. And that was the first time the terminology was shown, which enables Bitcoins and other ledger assets to be transferred between multiple blockchains. So they wrote this whole white paper about how they proposed this thing would work, essentially allowing for Bitcoin to be able to transfer over to another chain, thereby being able to eliminate a lot of the problems that exist with Bitcoin today that we still have even from 2014. So we'll get into that as I go forward. Why are sidechains important? What are the use cases, and/or why would people want a sidechain? So there's more on that. Let me share that with you. There was this great article written in Forbes. It wasn't Forbes, of course, it was one of their bloggers, Andrew here. And in this article, he gives a really good rundown about what sidechains are. Of course, it was written in 2018, just after the hype of the big bubble. Was it 2018? Yeah, November 2018. So actually, that was when things were down, actually. So without it, so scalability. Without it, even the most sophisticated blockchains, decentralized applications, and decentralized exchanges will be too slow, right? So you have Bitcoin, you got Ethereum. Both of them are giving 7 transactions per second, 15 transactions per second, and then you got Visa giving 24,000. So one of the most obvious problems is a scalability problem with blockchains. What exactly is the problem? Scalability, decentralization, and security. You can have two, but you can't have all three. It's essentially blockchain design flaw, otherwise known as the scalability trilemma. So scalability, decentralization, and security. I'm going to be bringing this up many, many times because as we go through the different kinds of sidechain solutions that are out there, you're going to notice there's always a problem between scalability, decentralization, and security. So what are sidechains and how do they work? All right, tell us. Sidechains are blockchains that run alongside a root or a parent chain. The root chain is usually the established blockchain, Bitcoin or Ethereum, for example, but could be anything, or any other sidechain. When you want to transfer funds, they are locked into the root chain and then released on the sidechain. Those sidechain until they return to the root chain where the process is reversed. A symmetrical two-way peg ensures fixed exchange rate. So in other words, you simply would be able to take your Bitcoin, have it come to single address, and then from the other side chain that's connected, be able to have that Bitcoin represented in the other blockchain, be able to move around without having to touch Bitcoin. This allows for being able to have some kind of scalability to Bitcoin because, again, 7 transactions per second here, but there could be this other blockchain that could have, say, 50,000 transactions per second. So imagine being able to move your Bitcoin from the Bitcoin network into this other side chain, and now you're operating at 50,000 transactions per second with your Bitcoin. That totally releases all kinds of possibilities for the applications that Bitcoin can be used in. So that's pretty exciting. That would change the way that things are. Why are sidechains important? Sidechains help blockchains scale, develop, and interact, just like I said. Both Ethereum and Bitcoin require every node to validate new transactions, whereas in the sidechain network validates the transactions and only periodically updates the root chain. So just like I said, the Bitcoin leaves the Bitcoin gets basically stuck at that address. It goes into the next address in the other blockchain, and after that, the Bitcoin network doesn't care. It doesn't track what's happening with that Bitcoin in the other network. But then once it comes back, that's when it updates, and then it makes a movement. So that's certainly very exciting. That would change the way things work today. Challenges. Although a worthy contender in the fight for scalability, dynamic blockchains, sidechains do present a number of challenges. And here we go. First, opponents argue they are not decentralized enough. Since they are small, they run few validation nodes, making it easier for a determined mining group to control the bulk of validations. So this comes back to proof of work as a consensus. So again, coming back to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's proof of work, a lot of the sidechain mechanics that they tried to introduce in the early days were proof of work as well. So we all know that proof of work is contingent on the amount of mining power that's in that network. And if there isn't enough mining power, then it's very easy for that other sidechain to be taken over. So imagine you moved your Bitcoin over to this other sidechain, and guess what? Some other miner decided, like miners that took it over, and whoops, there goes your Bitcoin because they did a reversal on your transaction or whatever, and next thing you know, Bitcoin's in another address and it's gone. So that's certainly not something that is secure. Finding miners that might also be a challenge, given that there's less incentive to mine side chains. again, they're more incentivized to take what's there rather than actually earning a reward. One potential answer, merge mining. So merge mining is a process that actually allows for Bitcoin miners, any kind of miner really. If the blockchain supports merge mining, then you could be mining multiple blockchains at the same time. This has been very helpful for a number of proof of work blockchains to continue to increase their security while, because really all of it's being sucked up into Bitcoin. We all know this. But if the blockchain supports merge mining, then they're also getting that benefit as well. The problem with merge mining, here we go. Again, the largest mining pool will flourish and the small ones will flounder, risking minority control, most of all in the validation. Perhaps then sidechain projects could fund mining themselves, reward mining user transactions. Another possible answer might be the use of trusted federations. So remember that sidechain paper that I showed you? That was actually how Blockstream introduced their proposal for sidechain was as a trusted federation. They introduced a network called Liquid, and Liquid was a sidechain which connected multiple exchanges as the sidechain. So the exchanges had this closed off trusted federation of a sidechain which they only interacted between themselves. It really wasn't for the general public. I'm sure it was useful for them, but not so useful for everybody else. So I don't know, not too excited about that. Anyways, let's move on. Where were we? What are sidechains and cross-chain compatibility and interoperability? Good question. So let's take a look at that. Blockchain interoperability in 2020, a 4-minute review. We're not going to take the full 4 minutes. All right, that's going to be way too much time for my time frame here. But this is a great article. You should take a look at everything here that I'm sharing with you later. Just read it in your own time. These guys analyzed 330 plus documents and obtained feedback from 30 people to talk about all different kinds of blockchains. So you're going to hear things like, you know, interoperability of blockchain. You're going to hear different kinds of terminology. At the end of the day, it all comes back to sidechain, right? It's basically the idea of being able to transfer information from one blockchain to another blockchain in some form, and there's different kinds of categories that these guys came up with essentially. As you can see on my screen here, I'm sharing, right? Yeah, I'm sharing. So cryptocurrency direct approaches. So you can see the subcategory, notoriety schemes, hash time locks, combining the two, blockchain engines, and blockchain connectors. So this is the way that they categorize the different approaches to how you can create sidechains. And in this article, they go into a little bit of details about how each one works. So feel free to go through that. I don't know why Medium's being weird. It's not showing all the images. I'm sure these are great images. Wish I could share them with you. Oh, we get to see a big rusted chain. Fantastic. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you very much, Medium. Okay, so to the next question, which was, how are sidechains different? Different variations in terminology. There's another article, and I think it's a Forbes, no. This was from, oh no, this was from Blockchain Capital, okay? So Blockchain Capital gave this really good rundown on a primer on blockchain interoperability. So this is from December 20, they don't say what year. Oh, well. Given that they use the term interoperability, I think it's rather recent. So an application level trade-off exists at the expense of blockchains and so forth. So they start off by talking about how there's different kinds of interoperability solutions, but they say the point is there's no one-size-fits-all solution for blockchains, and each distinct combination of design offers differences in, here we go again, security, privacy, efficiency, flexibility, platform complexity, and developer ease of use. That's a big one, and even political values. Wow. So the truth is that when it comes to moving value, let's say $1 million worth of Bitcoin versus 1 penny worth of Bitcoin, you're going to have different levels of security you can consider, right? If it's the $1 million payment, you're going to want some heavy security. If it's a penny payment, you're not too concerned. If it was a penny that was compromised, you're not going to, you lose your lunch over it. So I think that they're basically saying there's different ways that there's different approaches, and each one will have its trade-offs in terms of what kind of scalability it's really going to solve. All right, so there are some solutions out there that solve the penny problem, and there are people out there still trying to go after the $1 million payment problem. And as the article goes on, it goes down into notoriety schemes, relays, and hash time locks as the main ones that they like. So notoriety scheme employs a trusted federation, there it is again, to attest to the event of another chain. We already talked about that a little bit. Notoriety schemes are one of the simplest ways to achieve full suite of cross-chain interoperability. However, it comes at the cost of placing trust in the federation of notorieties. And that is not good. So essentially, you're taking away like the beauty of blockchain in itself, which is not having to worry about trusting somebody, right? So by having to use notorieties, notary schemes, it just doesn't takes away the security of it all. Relays. Instead of having the federation that verifies events on another chain, relay allows the chains to do this themselves. So it's a little better in regards to the security per se by relaying the transactions that happen. But again, it doesn't quite, it depends on the consensus mechanisms being the same, basically. So relay chat architecture works best with chains that have certain characteristics, including flexibility, multi-capabilities, and fast consensus finality, right? And that's because what happens, for example, in Bitcoin takes about 10 minutes of finality. Or no, actually, it's 10 minutes per block. It takes 6 blocks for finality, which is like an hour, right? So what happens if you take your Bitcoin, you put it into a sidechain, and something happens to Bitcoin, and what happens to the Bitcoin that's in the sidechain? Do you know? There's a potential that the value that's in the sidechain gets lost, or if Bitcoin changes, then that could be lost. So the finalities is an important aspect to having interoperable communications, and this is a challenge also when it comes to talking to a proof of work network like Bitcoin, which is very slow, versus something like a DPost or GPost network, which works very fast in finalities. And Cosmos and Polkadot present potential advantageous new paradigms for constructing blockchain networks rather than solution targets to existing blockchains. This is important to understand. When we talk about inter-blockchain communication, if you hear that term, it usually means that their blockchains can talk to other blockchains that are just like them. In other words, they're not going to talk to existing blockchains that are out there. It doesn't really solve the problem. What it does is it creates a situation where you need the entire world to switch over to what they've created. Not happening. It's not going to happen to Bitcoin anyways. Maybe some projects will move over and things like that. But the truth is that there's an existing, if there are existing blockchains that need the solution, it's not going to help them. So we need something better. The most prominent use of HTLC is Lightning Network. HTLC is an interesting technology. We looked at that for quite some time because we thought it would be a good way for us to incorporate that into what was built in Peerplays. But the more we looked at it, the more we saw that it just wasn't something that was scalable. Maybe it solves a security problem, but doesn't solve a scalability problem. Again, the trilemma, right? So we're back to that again. And then there's Interledger. Interledger is an interesting protocol. We like what we see there, and what's interesting is that what we built with Peerplays actually can use Interledger. So that's pretty cool. Interledger simplifies value transfer between payment networks by sending payments in a tiny packet through the most efficient routes of the connectors to reach their destination. So it's very similar to how the internet works today, but it works in terms of small messages, which basically just taking little bits and bytes from all over the place. It's a pretty interesting novel approach. It's gaining some momentum with networks like Ripple. So I think that it's worth looking at. Importantly, none of these approaches are mutually exclusive. Remember that. In fact, Interledger is compatible with Lightning Network, Cosmos, Polkadot, and Cosmos and Polkadot can be built bridges between each other, right? The intertwining of blockchain-based networks is made possible by their reliance on digital signatures and cryptographic proofs, allowing for a close tie between payment networks that may ultimately be what defines Internet of Value. So at the end of the day, this is blockchain capital, so they're trying to give advice for investors, right? But it's some nice input. So I'm going to share this with you later, but that's to give you a little bit of a primer on what's been going on with sidechains and how they impact you. Some of who's involved today. So we've already touched on some of the people who are involved today. I'm going to deep dive a little bit into these guys, just so we can get a quick overview. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So we got Polkadot, Cosmos, Elastos, Chainlink, Komodo, Horizon, Bosscore, and Peerplays. Let's do it. Before I go on, I'm just going to check the chat and see if there's anything going on. No strict vampires in here, it seems. Okay, that's good. All right. I like the sound of merge mining, but it sounds too good to be true. James, actually, it's actually not. It's actually very true. Merge mining is a very old tech. When I mined back in the day, I was merge mining myself. So it's been around for quite some time. I've never thought about a challenge of sidechains that will using different algorithms. This seems like a massive challenge. It is, Ruth. The challenge of sidechains is huge, but it's also very necessary for blockchain to become scalable. At least for some people. I mean, that's the perception anyway. When it comes to Bitcoin, especially. So I am going to deep dive into some of these different kinds of solutions that are out there, or different kinds of solutions that are being proposed right now. Let's start with Cosmos. That was at the top of the list. Cosmos, coming soon. So what we're talking about here is theoretical, all right? It's really easy to get wowed by a lot of flash and whatnot, but the truth is that this hasn't been built. So this is their concept of how they think a blockchain should work. And of course, blockchain capital apparently really likes it and they think you should invest. So way to go. So this shows how, again, the homogeneous blockchains are all connecting to each other, and they suggest that there's going to be a link to one or the other, but all of these are connected to one another. So it's an interesting concept. Polkadot does it a little different. Polkadot basically works on a number of different consensus roles: validators, collectors, fishermen, and nominees, or nominators, sorry. So Polkadot unites the network in a heterogeneous blockchain shard, say that 10 times fast, called parachains. These chains connect to the secure Polkadot relay chain, and then they can also connect to external networks via bridges. So again, there's a bit of a disconnect in terms of the scalability with decentralization, but they do have their own kind of look at how they think it should work. And you can tell that, you know, these are all parachains, which are all uniform to this type of consensus mechanism that works in Polkadot. I like the name Polkadot. It's cool. Moving on, we've got what we've got here, Chainlink. So Chainlink really isn't a sidechain per se, even though it sounds like one. What it is kind of an oracle system. So hi, Rodrigo. Glad you can join us. So Chainlink actually is a powerful new trust model of smart contract embodying through introducing a new technical challenge: connectivity. The vast majority of interesting smart contracts applications rely on data about the real world that comes from key sources, specifically data feeds and APIs that are external to the blockchain. Because of the mechanics of the consensus mechanism underpinning blockchains, a blockchain cannot directly fetch such critical data. We know this. Peerplays knows this, especially from our experience from Bookie. So we know a lot about Oracle data. Now, where Chainlink comes into sidechains per se is they have partnered with Elastos. Elastos is an older project, and they are a type of a sidechain which uses merge mining, like I talked about. And so in terms of what they're connecting with Chainlink is essentially a USD. So they're just creating a USD for Ethereum. That's all they're doing. It's all to go on the DeFi hype that's going on right now, which is great. That's certainly an application, and I'd like to see how their collateralized depositions do. That'd be cool. Another one that's up there is Zen, Horizon specifically. So Horizon's on the blockchain, and as a matter of fact, we're a little connected to these guys in terms of like some of our, I believe some of our witnesses are actually connected with the Horizon project as well. So this is a little comparison between Zen versus Komodo. I guess they wanted to compare what Equihash. Oh, Equihash is great. It's an algorithm that's a little older. It's basically where old miners go to mine after they're no longer good for Bitcoin. They go to Equihash. So there's 150. So you can see the comparisons, and you can see, wow, looks like Horizon's the winner compared to Komodo, at least according to this article. You should check it out for yourself. But Horizon basically uses scalability and flexibility based to create sidechains specifically so you can create applications to use Horizon. Horizon's a type of privacy coin, right? And so with this sidechain mechanism they've created, you can create a sidechain. So you build your applications on the sidechain. That's where all the speed and everything happens. But it ultimately connects to the Horizon blockchain. And so you have to use Zen tokens in order to be able to transact and use this. So this is fairly common to what a lot of existing sidechain solutions out there work as. Komodo Komodo has a very novel approach. Their platform is called Sidechains. In this article, which was back in 2018, he talks about how Sidechains, he's noticed how people refer to them as sidechains. He makes a really big rundown of the history and how it all came about, and basically argues that these aren't really sidechains. This is way better than a sidechain because their Sidechains are able to run independently rather than just as connected to another chain. But the truth is that a lot of people use them as sidechains. So it's a matter of the application. And then we have BOSS, okay? Not to be confused with Bookie Oracle system, which is what we have in Peerplays. By the way, we named it before they did, so I'm claiming that. So this was written back in June 13, and essentially this just gives a quick rundown. Decentralized cross-chain interoperability that has not only opened the high-speed cross-chain path between EOS and BOSS, but also connected other chains such as Wax, Telos, and Yas. So you can see that they're a chain of other chains, and so they provide kind of this medium layer so that one blockchain can connect to them, and then they can pass through to another blockchain. Pretty novel, and it's pretty much what is available within the EOS ecosphere, which is cool. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have Peerplays. Not pretty at all. So we don't have a lot of pretty marketing materials on this stuff because we spent so much time working on it. So we've actually been working on this for a number of years. It started off by developing our Bitcoin technology. So you could see that initially we created a Bitcoin sidechain that connected to Peerplays specifically. And the reason we wanted this is because we believe that the applications that would be available in Peerplays are best used using Bitcoin. That way people don't have to be limited to just using PPY or whatever other tokens that exist in the Peerplays ecosphere for the applications. So initially, so you can see that within this process, this is for a Bitcoin deposit. People are depositing their Bitcoin. It goes through a series of validations. Eventually, it connects to a SUN, which stands for Sidechain Operator Node. And those are a part of the cross-chain consensus protocol, which is a part of Peerplays in terms of how the sidechains work. So we started off by creating it specifically for Bitcoin, and we didn't really focus on connecting with anything else, although connecting anything else would be rather simple compared to this. And because Peerplays uses gamified proof of stake, it's different from proof of work, which means that we're actually crossing Bitcoin, which is a proof of work network, over to a gamified proof of stake network, which is what Peerplays is. And the reason why we had to change from delegated proof of stake to gamified proof of stake is because in order to be able to increase the security, here we go back to the trilemma, we needed to introduce a new type of consensus system within Peerplays so that it used gamified proof of stake and be able to have more security around those that would be involved in creating a sidechain between Peerplays and Bitcoin. So by doing that, we really allowed for us to be able to have not only the scalability, not only the security, but also the decentralization, because this entire network would be controlled by the voters. And so it could be anybody who's voted in as a sidechain operator node. Unlike other systems we looked at, which are federated gateways and things like that. So I'm giving you a little inside peek into some of the back end of PBSA and what we have for some of our functional specs. So here you can see the SUN's voting consensus. Again, this comes back to decentralization. We want to be able to have a method whereby PPY holders within the Peerplays blockchain are able to vote in sidechain operator nodes. We set it as an arbitrary limit that there'd have to be a minimum of 15 active nodes. This is just a minimum though. There could be many, many more. I believe that, we know that from our own experience in voting blockchains and per se, 21 tends to be the number that people hit, but it could go much higher depending on people's cognitive load, as it's been called over the years. So essentially, Peerplays is not only decentralized because it's controlled by the PPY voters, but it connects in a completely trustless way so that your Bitcoin is safe within the Peerplays blockchain. Because when we designed it, I'll get into a little bit about that as I go forward with how we use it. Let me just check the questions really quick, make sure that I'm not going crazy. No fancy graphics, fine with working product. Good, that's right, Oliver. Which of these products have working prototypes? So I mentioned that some of these ones like Cosmos, Polkadot, they're all just coming soon. They're all in test, they're basically in testnet, so they haven't really developed. Horizon, I believe, are operational, and Komodo are operational. But again, those are homogeneous type of blockchains. They can't cross consensus. Nothing really has been successful in crossing consensus until what we have here today. So what we believe matters. All right, so let's bring it on back a little bit. The importance of decentralization in public blockchain systems. So again, going back to some of the things that we just read about in terms of what matters, you think about moving $1 million versus moving a cent. You think about the importance of decentralization, scalability, and security, the trilemma that we talked about. When it comes back to the solutions that we've looked at, you can tell that different projects have different beliefs in terms of, and I mentioned in one of the articles I talked about how they're seeing political beliefs in some of these things. The importance of a decentralized blockchain is really important in terms of being able to create not only security, but ensuring that it's able to be sustainable. It's something that's going to be anti-fragile. When you start to introduce things like federated gateways and bridges and things like that, you're introducing not only security problems, you're introducing no decentralization. It's centralized. So you end up with, could be an operator who could at any time just up and go with your Bitcoin, for example, if it's a Bitcoin sidechain. So we believe that public, open, decentralized blockchains are the way to go, and that we will do what as much as possible to keep that trilemma at bay. We want to be able to make sure that whatever we create really is able to hit all those points, and make sure that we're not going to be creating something that's going to be centralized or something that's going to be easily manipulated and so forth. So this is something that's important, and this comes back to B, which is why community involvement is so important. True decentralization, GPOS. This is why we had to move from DPost to GPost, was because we had a real problem with engagement. We had a real problem with people engaging with the consensus mechanism as it was. We had to create a different kind of incentive structure in order to motivate people to participate in the blockchain in order to keep it secure. Because the truth is, when it comes to, a lot of people tend to think of witnesses and block producers as the miners of the blockchain. They're not. The miners of the blockchain are the voters. The people who vote in a proof of stake per se, like voting with tokens in any kind of blockchain, are the real miners, because they're the ones that are deciding what the consensus is going to be. If it's delegated to a node operator, then they're simply just running software. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the voters that decide whether they're the ones to be running that software or not. So you need to have an engaged voting community in order to keep it secure. So this is why we made that move, and that's something that we believe is very important to a blockchain. Who is best served in these systems? Is it companies, or is it token holders, or is it the users of the network? Because a lot of these things are designed in such a way that they don't necessarily, take blockchain for example, okay? So if you look at what blockchain designed, they designed it so that it would serve exchanges. It wasn't to serve the public good, right? It was so that the exchanges would be able to have their own private sidechain to Bitcoin, because they needed to be able to transact amongst themselves. And I don't know if that was because they had their own trust issues, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it wasn't really to serve the general public. We need systems that are going to be peer-to-peer, that are going to be serving the general public good, right? Because we're all here to create a better world. You know, I know at least the majority of you are here to create a better world. So let's focus on things that are going to make that kind of impact. And the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Aristotle said that, as you may know, because the graphic proves it. So Aristotle says the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. when it comes to blockchains, you really have to look at the whole and be able to understand that it's not just one part that matters. It's that when you put it all together, it creates a greater sum. And so by connecting all these pieces, you're able to, like when it comes to sidechain operator nodes, when it comes to GPOs, when it comes to fast applications, when it comes to connecting Bitcoin, then you have something that's greater than its parts. And hopefully something that's going to be something that scales and is going to be getting mass adoption. Demo time. Okay. So as part of this presentation, I am going to now go about attempting to create a sidechain operator node for you here live. All I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the instructions that were provided to me in the in our documentation repo, and we're going to see how that goes. I'm going to have to share with you my full screen, I think, in order for this to work. So just give me a second while I get that ready. And then hopefully I don't blow things up. So how's everybody enjoying this so far? Great. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to share my whole screen because I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to switch between the instructions and my my SSH terminal. So let's do that. All right. Don't go copying my passwords. Mr. Security here. All right. So you guys are looking at my screen now. You can see everything that I see. Here it comes. Boom. All right. So this documentation is available on our public repo. It's available to anybody. Anybody can go there right now and be able to set up their own sidechain operator node on Peerplays. So by the way, this is connecting to the testnet in Peerplays. It's not connecting to the live net. So you're not going to blow up anything in Bitcoin or anything like that by using this. But whoops, I actually forwarded one. Running a Sun with Docker. So we did a lot of work to make this as simple as possible for anybody to be able to create one of these. Something again that's important in terms of decentralization is trying to make tools that are going to be accessible not just to developers but to people in general. I think that the day has, I mean, there was a time when Bitcoin first got introduced where it's just this program you can run on your laptop. And that was the message, and that was so cool, and that was like the way that we were going to be able to have it go everywhere. But then we saw what happened with the computing and how it all went into ASICs, and now it's only these big mining operations that do it. There has to be a way for everybody to be able to access this. That way we get distribution, we get real decentralization and better security. That's where the whole network moves to the edge, and that's where blockchain should be going. It should be going to private chains that are hosted somewhere by some company. At least that's what I think. So let's get into this. Cloning the Peerplays Docker repo. Okay, so I'm going to start with, all I have here is, no, that's not it. That's not it. Oh gosh. Here I just said not to give you my passwords. I give you all my passwords. Actually, I didn't give you anything. So anyways, so this is a instance that we created here on my network. It's got a fair amount of RAM. It's got some CPUs in it. It doesn't have anything. It's just a plain, regular Ubuntu system. So I don't really have anything on here. So I am going to try and set this up for you right in front of you and see how quickly I can do it. So you don't have to be afraid about doing this. Oh my gosh, I almost made the first mistake. Everybody know one thing you should do when you start these things? Sudo, yeah. There you go. So cloning the Peerplays Docker. All right. Edit configuration, example, copy. All right, I'll just do that. Hey, what? Oh, right, I gotta go to the directory first, guys. And you wouldn't know that I was like a sysadmin for 20 years. Okay. So it says edit the Bitcoin reg config, which is located here, yada, yada, yada. Oh, but guess what? There's a script that can do it for you. Let's use the script. Yeah, as I'm all about making it easier. Right here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, there it is. Replace Bitcoin config. All right. Let's do it. So replace. It's doing something. Okay. To enable the blockchain API to explicit the Docker container, make sure the specified ports in the env file. Okay, so I'll go back. And we've got an env file, yep. Take a look at it, make sure it's all good. Ports. There we go, port 997, looks good. Good me, I got a reg key and everything, good to go. That was easy. All right, so copy the Peerplays config. Oh, okay, so all right, so I'm just gonna go to that directory to do that. Where am I? Oh, data, right. Okay, so there's the Suns example that we see here, right? So I'm just going to copy that to config, and I forgot to do again. Way to go, Jonathan. I'm awesome at this webinar stuff, all right? All right, we're good to go. So there's my INI, looks good. I'm pointing to 9777, so that's the right port. So that should be good to go. Any custom changes to Sun Wallet, Bitcoin registration. Okay. And then all I got to do is run SSH and install Suns. Okay. Easy peasy. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything here. Any custom changes to Sun Wallet, which was also made for Bitcoin Wallet. All right. So yeah, that's something you can do. That's something you do later in terms of getting your private keys and things like that. This time we'll run sudo, but I got to go to the right directory. Here's the run SSH. So I'm going to run sudo run SSH. Way to go. All right, a few warnings. Oh, looks like it's downloading stuff. Awesome. So for what it's worth, if you run sudo, it means rerun that last command with sudo in front of it. I know, eh? It drives me a little nuts, but how can I do it from Windows? So Rodrigo, Dockers is something that you can run that's basically agnostic to whatever OS you're using. So you can run a Docker, you can run an Ubuntu Docker inside of Windows if you wanted to. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I haven't done it myself, but I know people who have Dockers that are running inside of Windows systems. So look into running Dockers on your Windows, and you'll be able to load up an Ubuntu instance with Dockers. So look into that. It's a little beyond my capabilities for this video. So he's using PuTTY that connected to Linux system. That's right. So I'm using Ubuntu 18, and I'm using a terminal, which is using SSH, which is typical for how you administer a Linux system. This to me is like, this is the only way you access a Linux system. I've never used the GUI interfaces with Linux. So while that's downloading, let's just take a quick look. Cool. It's gonna be easy. Still extracting. What system specs are recommended? Good question. Bobinson's in the chat, so I would defer that to Bobinson because I'm not sure what the specs should be. Because you have to consider that the system is going to have to not only run a Peerplays node, but it's also going to have to run a Bitcoin node at the same time. So the Bitcoin node doesn't take too much per se in terms of RAM, but it does take quite a bit of space in terms of storage because you want to have a full node for the Bitcoin blockchain. So you're looking at something like 300 300 gigabytes, I think, for Bitcoin node and storage. To be safe, I would go with 400 gigabytes. And then you're looking at Peerplays. Again, you could go with 100 gigabytes of storage for that. In terms of RAM, yeah, there you go. So BTC, 2 gigabyte RAM, 250 gig storage. So yeah, I said 300. I was pretty close. 2 gigs would do fine. And then you want to be able to have RAM for your full node, considering that you want to be able to. I didn't get into how sidechain operator nodes work in terms of their rewards. So rewards work as a type of a reward pool. So the sons that are the best performers are going to get a proportional amount of reward to how much is in the pool, which means that it doesn't depend on transactions. There's a set rate. So they're no longer, so there's no incentive for sons to be spamming to be able to get more rewards or anything like that. As a matter of fact, they're disincentivized to spam the network. But there's an incentive to be the first and the most reliable in the network. And this is why we changed the way that rewards work for sons compared to the way it works with block producers. Block producers get paid for every block that they produce. They get a certain reward. Same way in Bitcoin. Every block that gets solved, you get a reward. In the sons, there's a pool that's set every 24 hours. And within that period, depending on the amount of transactions that were processed, if you were the one that was the fastest in processing those transactions, you would get the proportional amount of reward for the transactions in that day. So, and it's a set rate. So if you're a poor performer, you're not going to get paid as much. If you are equal to everybody else, then everybody else gets the same. Not likely going to happen, simply because there's always going to be somebody who's not on the ball like everybody else, right? But the fact is that we wanted to incentivize good performance, which is why we came up with this new system. It's somewhat similar to what we've seen in Hive in regards to there's a reward pool every single day for the content. It has a similar aspect to that in terms of there's a reward pool every single day, but it's based on the speed of it's the amount of transactions that you process within the day, right? So pretty excited about that because it really aligns the gamification of that fee structure more appropriately than trying to connect it to transactions. Okay, still extracting, holy cow. You guys can see that? Oh, it's almost done. Pull complete. There's the digest proof. It's all real. And installation complete. Awesome. You may now configure and run the server. All right, let's go back to the docs. All right, that's all I did was I ran the install. Start the environment. Okay, once the setup is complete, you want to run start Peerplays and Bitcoin containers. Just like that, it's a single command. Sudo, and away we go. So we got the seed for Peerplays going, and we got this Bitcoin node going with containers. Will be launched. Sweet. Okay, guys, let's see what's going on. Is reward pool the same every day? Yes. The same reward pool every day. So of course, as the as the value of PPY increases or decreases, then that'll affect how much the sun's reward will be each day. Oh, sorry, I won't say that it affects it. It's basically, it's the same. It's like basically if PPY is worth, $10 today, then it may be worth and if we're at $10 a day, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same set amount of PPY that goes out every single day. And it's just going to depend on the performance of each sun, how much of that reward they're going to receive. The pool funds come from the blockchain. It comes from the reward. It comes from the. It comes from the. It becomes a part of the what they call. How can I think of the word now? It comes straight from the blockchain rewards pool. So it's the same pool where witnesses are paid from. It's the same kind of. It's basically another form of being able to get paid from the blockchain for providing services. Reward pool. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I don't know why I was trying to think of another word for it for some reason. So looks like I started a Bitcoin node already. Boom, there it is. And looks like it's started a seed node for Peerplays as well. We're good to go. So if I wanted to get further into it, so right now, my before continuing new network, make sure you import your default Bitcoin keys. There's a script provided here below. Oh, so it'll just import my Bitcoin keys. There we go. Docker exec seed. Run the following command over terminal. Nice. So all I have to do now is this would allow me to be able to get into the wallet. I just installed the seed, so obviously I'm going to be syncing for a while, and I'm not going to be able to use these yet. But that is all there is to setting up a Sun node within Peerplays. So sidechain operator nodes are very easy to set up. That's what you do with Docker. All you got to do after this is basically just set up your account in Peerplays, set up your keys within Bitcoin, and then you're able to you're able to link the address of the account to your Bitcoin, and through here you're able to actually transact, sending Bitcoin into Peerplays, and then being able to send the Bitcoin back to Bitcoin, or from Peerplays into Bitcoin. So yeah, pretty exciting. Oh, withdraw Bitcoin from Peerplays to the account. So all the details are here. Gives you all the information you need to be able to do all the transactions. It's that simple. Transfer account, sign account, withdraw, BTC, true, just like that. Super simple. I'm going to stop sharing this now. That was the demo. Special insights into what Sidechain Revolution means to you. So as you can see, the capability to be able to move securely, decentralized, and scalable Bitcoin over to Peerplays is something which is going to be possible in the very near future. This is something that's in testnet already. We've developed this for a number of years now. I can't tell you how much time and effort has been put into this. This isn't something that we just came up with. We've been working on this for years. With a lot, this is I think like the third, fourth iteration of creating this type of sidechain that we feel ready to actually introduce to the live net. So some examples of what Peerplay Bitcoin sidechain can be used for: Bookie Pro, using Bitcoin; Easy 50/50, using Bitcoin; Peerplays RNG, using Bitcoin. Imagine the possibilities of the kinds of just imagine the possibilities of the types of games you're going to be able to create with a combination of a decentralized RNG using Bitcoin and Peerplays. Wow. NFT marketplace using Bitcoin. In case you guys haven't been following, Peerplays is about to introduce NFT marketplace features. Actually, it's a feature which we developed a long time ago. We just never finished it off, but it's being introduced very soon. And it could be whatever using, you get the idea. So the Sun's mechanism is generalized enough that not only are we going to be able to use Bitcoin with it, we're going to be able to use all kinds of different types of assets that are out there. So if there's demand to be able to create another Sun for, say, Ethereum, or another Sun for EOS, or another Suns for other types of blockchains, we could certainly do that. Say Ripple, for example, and now we could have a payment system that runs through Peerplays to be able to use with maybe Bookie Pro. So lots of possibilities on where this can all go. Why hasn't this happened in the past? I mean, you've seen some of the sidechain technologies that are out there now. Truth is that they really are focused on creating more value for their core token. And because of that, that part has kept back a lot of the development in regards to creating sidechain technologies. However, for those of you who know the history of Peerplays, we have been all about introducing multi-currency like flow through Peerplays from the very beginning. It's what we believe in. We believe, again, the sum is greater than the parts. So some people believe that by doing that, you're reducing the value of PPY. I don't believe it. A lot of PPY holders don't believe that either. Once you introduce Bitcoin into a network like Peerplays, where the applications are going to be able to utilize Bitcoin, it changes the scalability of the types of dApps that can run within Peerplays. And that's going to totally change the dynamic for the amount of users that are using the network. So it's very important in terms of what sidechains can do to this industry. It means not just to Peerplays, but to every kind of blockchain that's out there. If you don't have the type of liquid movement to be able to move Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever kind of token you want to use into different kinds of blockchain, you're going to be stuck into a walled off garden that nobody else can go to, and it's going to be limited in its capabilities, and you're not going to get the mass adoption, which is so necessary for this type of technology to flourish and create a better world. So I'm just going to look at really quickly at the chat. Thank you for joining in. If you have questions, feel free to join the community. You can take note of all this, guys. So these are all our various social media outlets. We are on Twitter at Peerplays, Facebook Peerplays, Reddit Peerplays, Peaked, we're on Peaked, Peerplays, that's Hive, LinkedIn, Peerplays, and Telegram, go to Peerplays. So looks like Bunsen has some comments. We're on track with performance, uptime via on-chain heartbeat, transactions signed, etc. These can increase and reduce. These can increase or reduce the sun's rewards. So basically, yeah, the more you're up, the better it is in terms of your rewards. So it's certainly a better gamified technique for being able to create motivated node operators, which for those of you who have been in the space for some time know that can be a challenge sometimes when it comes to node operators, keeping them motivated to have really good uptime, because the blockchain kind of makes them lazy because, you know, knock a node out, who cares? There's like a whole bunch of others. So can we develop dApps that actually with the actual info, or need some more? Yeah, you can develop dApps with the info that's provided. There's no reason that can't happen. What does NFT mean? Good question. We'll be doing another webinar on that topic in the future, but I'm pretty sure I've gone over my, I've gone well over my 20 minutes. I'm very sorry, guys. But we will be going on about NFTs in the future. They mean non-fungible tokens. There's something that's fairly common in the industry, but we've created something that's quite different. Something that really innovates the space, because we believe that in order to be, like, where blockchain belongs is really in the innovative space, like is to innovate and change the world. And the things that we're developing are with that in mind. So if you are of that mind and you believe that that's the direction the blockchain should go, then you should certainly be a part of the Peerplays community. So I am going to wrap this up because we're hitting the 1 hour mark now. And it's been great having you all here. I'm very happy to see the turnout. And we'll be sharing some of this in the future with everybody publicly. So don't worry about that. I'm going to just quickly share my notes so you all have that as part of the what's saved here. And then you'll be able to reference these in the future. And I'm going to take one more question before I go while I'm doing this. So whoever can get it in there, you're welcome to it. Okay. Done. I'll take your question in a second. All right, so that's, oh, I forgot to share the best ones. Just really quickly before we wrap up, I meant to actually share some of these with you, so give you a chance to be able to see them. So when I was talking about Bookie Pro, this is actually something that is live, that's out there. We developed this some time ago. Of course, the situation with what's happened with the pandemic and whatnot has shut it down temporarily, but it's certainly, once it comes back up and running, it's going to be awesome because it's the truly decentralized betting exchange. It's a prediction market. And we have Easy 50/50, which is a 50/50 draw type of application, which is used for charitable events to be able to help raise funds for charities and goodwill. And then there's Peerplays RNG, which is something that's new. Just recently got the verification from GLI, first ever in as a decentralized RNG here in North America, has gotten that certification. Well, verification from GLI. GLI approved, there it is. And so that is something which is very unique, and we're seeing that getting implemented into various applications around the world. So that's exciting too. So imagine being able to pair Bitcoin or other types of cryptocurrencies using our decentralized RNG. Now you have something that's going to be really exciting. So I'm going to take that question now. Here we go. Let's see, what's the public chat got for a question? Okay, what we got? Thank you for the explanation on the topics. How secure is Sidechain? Too many links. No more questions from me now. Okay, Sidechains are secure as Peerplays chain and Bitcoin itself. The funds of the Bitcoin are obviously in the Bitcoin network and secure in multi-wallets. Yeah, so the security is that it uses a cross-chain consensus protocol. So this means that when you are using Bitcoin, you are putting your security into the proof of work consensus. Once you have actually transferred that Bitcoin over to Peerplays, you are putting your security into the gamified proof of stake consensus. And once that's, and with that, that's where the security begins and ends. So what's happening with that is that the security of the Peerplays blockchain, your Bitcoin is as secure as the Peerplays blockchain as a whole. So that's quite secure. We haven't had any issues in terms of security with Peerplays to date. I'm never going to say never. We're certainly going to learn as we go. We're on this journey together, like I said, but it's as secure as it gets because when it comes to gamified proof of stake, you have something that is, in my opinion, far better in terms of keeping the blockchain secure through gamification. And you can always be able to move your Peerplays, you can always move your Bitcoin from Peerplays into Bitcoin anytime you want. So when are you gonna sun deploy to mainland? Good question. It's all gonna depend on when we get that out. I'm not sure yet. It's going to be pretty soon though, I believe. We've been testing this for quite some time. We got to get the witnesses up to speed on this. We need other testers to get involved in this because this is not something that the witnesses are going to run. This is a whole new consensus arm of the Peerplays blockchain. So we have the advisors, we have the witnesses, and now we're going to have the sons. So it's a whole other arm that's going to be implemented. And then eventually we'll have worker proposals per se that use specs, subject matter expert committees, but we haven't worked on that yet. That's not going to be coming. So how fast is the transfer of Bitcoin to PPY? From Bitcoin to PPY, it's as fast as the Bitcoin network. So after so many confirmations, you will eventually get your Bitcoin into the Peerplays blockchain. Once it's in the Peerplays blockchain, your Bitcoin moves as fast as Peerplays. So it's going to be like super fast. Like everything will be happening super fast because we have 3-second block times that are, and again, the network is like almost instantaneous. So you'll be able to have super fast Bitcoin running within Peerplays, which means it's usable for applications like Bookie, like Easy 50/50, and like RNGs that can use various dApps to develop on Peerplays. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. I'm going too far. Thank you so much for everybody. I'm so happy this went well. I'm sorry I went over my time, but I'll make it better next time. So that will be it for now. We'll see you guys at the next one. Be sure to watch out for the next webinar, which is going to be talking about probably about NFTs. but we'll see. Bye, everybody.